Imagine you built 1,000 toilets, but almost nobody used them. This is a real story. A government says the problem is simple. People don't have toilets. So the government builds toilets. Lots of toilets. Free toilets. New, clean toilets. And then the government goes and has a look at the toilets. They're empty. In India, this really happened. The government built new public toilets with public money. But many people still went to the toilet outside, not in the new toilet buildings. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to think. If you were the government, what would you do? Would you A. build more toilets, B. teach the importance of using toilets, say in school, or C. get angry? We gave you toilets, why are you not using them? Most people give one of these three answers. However, all three are wrong. Now this video is about why those three answers are wrong, and also about what a better first step looks like. That better first step has a name: design thinking. Back to the toilets. Why did people not use them? The answer was not people were silly or stupid. The answer was different. The government thought people need toilets, so we'll make more toilets. But the toilets were dark inside. They smelled bad. They had no doors. They didn't feel safe, especially for women. People felt the toilets were small, dirty, and embarrassing. Compared with that, going outside in the morning felt nicer. It felt fresher. People walked with their neighbours. They talked. They started their day together. So the government had the wrong problem. They thought the problem was people need toilets, so therefore let's build toilets. But the real problem was different. The real problem was toilets are not nice. People don't want to use them. So the real question was not do we need more toilets, but how do we make them more attractive? A company called GARV Toilets answered that question. Bright pink doors, smiling faces, clean inside, music, lights. People liked to use these new toilets. And slowly people started using them. The toilets didn't have any new technology. They just felt different. They felt good. So look at what happened. The first step was not let's build something. The first step was look at the people and ask the question again. In this way, when the question changes, the answer also changes. So the first step in design thinking is not to build, but to look. Design thinking is a method. It's a step-by-step way of solving problems. But the important part is what comes first: people. It was suggested by Tim Brown from Stanford University. He suggested that you do not start with your own idea. You don't start with the government's idea. You don't start with your teacher's idea. You start with a real person, with their life. If you do that part well, the rest becomes much easier. And there are 5 steps in design thinking, but the first 2 are the most important. They decide if everything works or not. The 5 steps are empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Let's start with empathize. Empathize means spending time with the person or the people that you want to help. Sit with them, watch them, ask them why. Do not guess what they might want. Find out really what they want. Find out how they feel. In the toilets story, nobody did this in the beginning. Imagine if one person had visited a village first, just sat with the people, listening for just 1 hour. The whole project would have been very different. The next step, define. Find the real question, not the easy one, but the right one. After spending time with people, you find the real question, not the easy question. The toilet project succeeded or failed at this step. Do people need toilets? Yes, that was the easy question. But how do we make toilets nice? That was the real question. Most problems get fixed at this step, or they fail at this step. Most people want to skip it. They want to jump this step. They want to move on to ideas. Don't do that. The third step is ideate. Now and only now, after empathizing and defining, do you think of ideas. Here we're looking for many ideas, rough ideas, not one perfect idea. In fact, silly ideas can sometimes be the best ideas. Lots of ideas first, good ideas later. Now, after ideation comes prototyping. This is where we make a small, rough version of an idea fast. We pick one idea, make a small, rough version of it, not perfect, quickly. Something a real person can hold and try. We might use cardboard, paper, a picture, a short story, anything that you can show to another person. The last step is to test, showing your prototype to a real person. Watching, listening, learning from their reactions. Watch where they get confused, notice what surprises you. Then, this is the important part. Go back and change it. Try again. And you'll notice that these 5 steps are not really in a straight line. After a test, you usually go back to empathize. You learned something new, you ask the question again, you try again. It's a circle, and designers do this many, many times. But the most important part of the method is at the start. Empathize, define, spend time with people. Find the real question. That's the part that most beginners skip. But that's the part where most problems get fixed. Now let me show you this way of working, but closer to home. In northwest Tokyo, a rail company called Seibu had a very serious problem. When a passenger in a wheelchair wanted to use the train, the staff had to talk by radio between the stations. A wheelchair user is on carriage number 3, please bring a ramp. The whole journey was slow. It was stressful for the passenger. It was stressful for the staff too. Sometimes the ramp came late. Sometimes the staff at the next station weren't ready. Now imagine that you are the railway company. What's the problem here? Now the easy answer is we need better radios. We need more staff. And these are not crazy answers, but they answer the wrong question. Remember the problems of the user. People in wheelchairs, they found that their journey the whole journey, felt slow and stressful. So the real question, the question that Seibu and a company called Hitachi finally asked, was how do we make the whole journey easier for everyone? So to answer that question, the team did what design thinking says to do. They went and watched. They sat with wheelchair users. They sat with railway staff. They drew pictures of the whole railway journey, not just at the moment at the platform, but the journey from leaving home all the way back to home. They asked, where is it hard? Where is it difficult? Where is it unclear? They found many answers from this better question. Better signs, better planning, simpler ways for staff to talk. All these came from spending time with both railway staff and wheelchair users. So look at what Seibu Railway and Hitachi did. The same as what GARV Toilets did with the toilets in India. Not by buying things, not by starting to build things. The first was to look, to listen, to ask the real question. This is what design thinking does. It's not magic. It's not be smarter. Spend time with people. Find the real question. This week's reading is about a man who learned all about this through a very hard experience. His name is Doug Dietz. For 24 years, Doug built medical machines. His MRI, a big machine that let doctors see inside of a person, won numerous awards. Then one day he was working in the hospital, and he saw a small girl. She was holding her parents' hand as she was being led to the MRI room, and she was crying. She was so afraid of Doug's MRI machine that the hospital was going to have to put her asleep just so she would stay still in the machine. That moment hurt Doug, and it changed him. And in this week's reading, you discover that he went to Stanford and he learned about design thinking. He learned to talk to the people who helped sick children. He sat with them and listened. He watched. He didn't change the machine itself. In the end, he changed the room around the machine. The MRI room became a pirate ship. It became a spaceship. 9 different adventures that the children could go on. The number of children who had to be put to sleep in order to have an MRI went way down. Patient happiness scores went up by 90%. I won't tell the whole story. You can read it in this week's reading. But notice this, the 5 same steps. Empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test. Then go back to the start. The toilets in India, the train in Tokyo, Doug's MRI machine in the US. The same method, very different problems. So far, this video has been about a method, a way of solving problems. Toilets, trains, MRI machines. Each story shows the same steps. Look at people. Ask the questions. Try something small. But there's a problem with this method. And the problem is not the method itself. The problem is us. When I tell students we're going to use design thinking to solve some problems, many of them go quiet. They get nervous. They look at the floor and eventually they say something like this: I'm not creative. Let me tell you about a student. Let's call him Taro. Taro is not a real person. He's a mix of students that I've met over the years. Taro is smart. He works hard. He's curious, but he says, I'm not creative, like it's a fact. Like he's telling me his shoe size. I'm not creative. Finished. Done. Decided. When I ask him, what do you mean not creative? He can't really answer. I don't know. My mind goes blank. Other people have ideas. I don't. But listen to what is happening here. Taro feels nervous. His mind is blank. He takes that feeling and turns it into a fact about himself. Now the feeling is real, but Taro made it bigger than it really is. The nervous feeling was just one moment. He turned it into something much bigger. He turned it into who I am. A man named Albert Bandura studied this for many years. He was a scientist who studied how people think. He had a word for that thing that Taro was missing. That word was self-efficacy. And listen carefully to this word. Self-efficacy is not feeling confident about everything. It is not, I am a confident person. It's much smaller and it's much more useful. Self-efficacy means I can take the next step on this task right here. 2 students might have exactly the same skill, the same ability, but the student with higher self-efficacy will be the one that will start. They will keep trying after a small failure. They will ask for help. They'll say, okay, that didn't work. What can I try next? And Bandura found that there were 4 ways that self-efficacy grows. I'll show you all 4 really quickly. The first one is doing it. You tried something. It worked, even just a little, even badly. But that small win tells your brain, I can do this maybe. Now, reading does not do this. Watching a video like this does not do this. You actually have to try it. Number 2 is watching. So you see someone like you, not a hero, not a celebrity, a classmate, someone like you, and you see them try, and you see them succeed. And your brain quietly says, maybe I can too. And number 3, words. A teacher, a friend, or a coach tells you honestly and clearly, you can do this, maybe this next little part. And the 4th thing that Bandura suggested was body signals. Your heart beats fast. Your hands sweat. Your mind goes blank. Now, most of us read those signals like Taro does. We say, I feel nervous, so therefore I'm not ready. Bandura says that we can read those signals differently. We can say, I feel nervous because this matters to me. So this is the same body, a different story, and a different next step. I'm nervous, so I can't. Or, I'm nervous because this matters. Now, today's reading was from a book called Creative Confidence. That was written by David Kelly and his colleague. He also started the D School at Stanford University, the school where design thinking was first taught. He has a name for where self-efficacy meets design thinking. He calls it creative confidence. Now, creative confidence is not your personality. It's not a gift that you are born with. It's a habit. And the habit is take a small first step. A step based on someone's real life. Now, Doug, the MRI engineer, did not decide one day to become creative. He went and he watched children. He tried something small. It worked a little, so he tried something bigger. And that's the whole secret behind creative confidence. Creative confidence is not a feeling, but it's a habit of taking small steps. You do not need to feel confident to begin with. You begin and the confidence grows. So in our next in-person Unlearning Lab, we will start exactly where Doug started with his MRI machine, where Hitachi started with Seibu's train problem, where every design thinking story starts. We'll start with empathy. We will not start with ideas. We will not start with answers. We will start by sitting with one single person, and we'll start by getting curious about them. You'll ask questions. You'll listen, and really listen, not just waiting for your next turn to ask a new question. And then you'll get curious about something very small, something ordinary, something surprisingly personal. I want to finish this where we started off, rural India. The government built 1,000 toilets, and almost nobody used them. Then someone went. They talked to people. They tried to understand people. And they asked the question of what the real problem was again, and the answer changed. Today we looked at 2 big ideas. The first was design thinking. This is a way of solving real-world problems by starting with real people and empathizing, understanding, and listening to people. We also looked at the idea of creative confidence. And this is the habit of taking small steps, even when you don't feel ready. The method of design thinking shows you the path. Creative confidence, the habit of creativity, keeps you going. In short, Whatever the problem is, start by looking at the people. In person this week, in our Unlearning Lab number 5, we will be experiencing creative confidence together. And that will be your whole job, to listen, to look, to ask one more honest question. See you in class.